Hello and welcome to my talks with dads in business. I'm Paul from Refocus Coaching, and this is where I speak to busy dads who are running or leading in business about how they manage their energy, their focus, and their health whilst they're spinning so many plates. And I'm delighted to welcome today's guest, Matt Keenan, who supports men's mental health, a topic that's close to my heart and that of my clients. So please go ahead and introduce yourself, Matt.
Hey Paul, how you doing? Thanks a million for the opportunity. So I'm Matt Keenan. I'm a executive life coach. I specifically work with guys, men, lads who have anxiety, depression, OCD, ADHD, any type of high level stress. So yeah, that's pretty much me.
Awesome. Yeah, it's a very important piece of work. So, and I thank you for your time today for coming on and talking to me. So what I usually do with these is I've got a bunch of questions that I ask around my sort of four pillars that I work with clients with. But I think what would be nice with you is maybe to give us a bit of your backstory and maybe tell us why you got into the thing that you're doing now.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. So where do we start with this one? So I was in the corporate world for years. I'm actually a chef by trade originally, and then I get into the corporate world later on in life. And then during COVID, COVID kind of exacerbated it. I think I've always been quite anxious, and I think with the lockdowns, we had heavy lockdowns here in Ireland, as I'm sure you guys know as well, over in the UK. I had a breakdown basically. So I went to my doctor, as you do, and he'd said, based on the 10 minutes I was in the office with him, he said, "Look, you've clearly got depression. So here are some tablets for you to take. Go and take them, and you'll be fine." So about a month later, it's interesting to point actually, during that first month, we had just completed the purchase of our new home. So I had taken a couple of weeks off work. I was on cloud nine anyway. Um, Started taking the medication, but about a month later, I didn't really feel any different. I had monthly check-ins with the doctor, and explaining to him that I didn't feel any different. So he increased the dosage. And that increase in the dosage happened every month for about 8 months. So from late January up until around August time, he just kept increasing the dosage each time, to a point where I was just like an absolute zombie, is the only way to describe it. There were horrible side effects to the tablets. I wasn't sleeping. There were physical side effects that were affecting me personally, but also affecting my marriage. So there was a lot of things going on. And I genuinely felt the medication made me worse. I didn't feel that they made me in any way better. They made me more anxious. They made me more depressed. And I got to the point, Paul, where I thought, you know what, there's only one way out of this. So I had made the plans to take my own life. And in the August time, I had left the house with the full intent of never coming home, basically. So luckily, I turned the car around. I came home, and I got myself into therapy. I spent the next 6, 8 months or so working with a psychotherapist. And it was during that time that we realized that I actually don't have or never had depression. I have really bad anxiety, or GAD, so generalized anxiety disorder. My anxiety can get so bad if I don't keep an eye on it, where I can start displaying depressive episodes. So that's kind of where the confusion with the doctor came from. But it wasn't depression, it was anxiety. So I was misdiagnosed and put on medication that I probably shouldn't have been on. It's also in point to note as well that there is a lot of medications out there for different mental health conditions that can cause suicidal ideation as well. So you just need to be careful if you're going down that route of getting medicated for any type of mental health condition, that you work with your doctor, you recognize any change in symptoms and behaviors, and you keep an eye on it. So look, after coming out the back of all of that, I started the Anxious Lad podcast. I started retraining myself then in CBT, NLP, hypnotherapy, executive and strategic life coaching. I became a mental health life coach, as I said, specifically working with guys with high level stress, anxiety, that kind of stuff. And really in a way to try and get guys to understand that, you know what, we can feel certain ways, but we need to step up and start talking about it. With all of the different training and courses and everything else that I was doing, it's easy to fall down all those rabbit holes of information. And, you know, it's easy to see why when we look at men specifically, we look at the societal pressures, the expectations that we place on ourselves and the expectations that society places on us, and the fact that we don't generally step out and talk about stuff. It's easy to see why the male suicide rate takes up 78% of global suicide. So for me, my job, my company is all about helping guys find themselves, helping lads, you know, reshape their mindset, and basically just open up and start talking, and with the end result of bringing that global suicide rate down.
Yeah. And to your point, I think is like you said, there's a societal expectation, but also I think men just have an expectation of themselves that they should just be able to cope and just be able to get on with things as well. So that, again, without then coming out for help and asking for help, it kind of makes it worse as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, we don't. It's interesting you said like men place that pressure on themselves. We do, but where do we learn it from? I mean, we don't. We're not born with that innate ability to say that we have to deal with this ourselves, right? We're taught this is learned behavior over, you know, 20, 30, 40 years. You know, it's listening to our parents, it's listening to society, it's listening to teachers, it's listening to our sports coaches, you know. We have to man up, suck it up, get on with it, you know. The old fashioned way of parenting, you know, you want something to cry about, I'll give you something to cry about, that kind of, those kind of behaviors and those kind of expressions that come out. So yeah, we do place it upon ourselves, absolutely, but we do that because that's what we've been taught to do, you know. So yeah. I think we need to make that distinction. It's not something that's just, you know, an innate ability in us to do that. We've learned that somewhere along the line, and we need to change that mindset, basically.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. Yeah, and thanks for clarifying that, because yeah, you're right. It's, of course, yeah, it's a learned behavior, and it's based on all of those years of upbringing and exposures to various influences. Do you think that it's changing slightly in terms of, you know, younger men growing up now? Is it slightly different?
Yeah, I think it is. I think the younger generation, definitely there's a lot more they're a lot more open about it. I think, you know, certainly in the last sort of 10, 15 years, we've seen a huge shift in mental health. It is a conversation that is out there a lot more. You're right. Social media has a huge part to play in that, in terms of, you know, wellness, mindfulness, you know, all of that kind of stuff. But I think, again, we have to be very careful about the people that we listen to and the people that we follow on social media. Do you know what I mean? There's a lot of toxic masculinity traits out there that people have brought. This is how a man shows up. This is what a man does, which is not really what you should be doing. So I think we have to be careful about the type of information that we're taking on board and the type of people that we're following online as well. But in general terms, I think, yes, I think mental health has become a much more open conversation. We still tend to push a few things under the carpet. I think from a corporate perspective, there's a lot of, let's not talk about suicide, let's not talk about this, let's just do a mindfulness or a wellness course and that'll be okay. But I think we're getting there. You know, it is definitely something that is moving in the right direction. We're not quite there yet. the way I always look at it is that, look, we've got some amazing things out there. As I said, different coaches, you know, you've got people banging the drum about mental health, and certainly about men's mental health, but the statistics from a global perspective with suicide aren't coming down. So whilst we are talking a lot more about it, we're still missing something, right? Those numbers are still staying the same. So I think we need to just do a little bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's something that you know, I obviously work with. I've decided to work with dads in the main part because I am a dad, and because I enjoy kind of helping other dads sort of refocus on their own health a little bit. And I obviously come at it from a physical point of view, but a lot of my discussions are around that mental health and that mental well-being, and that attitude towards yourself and the attitude towards your day, and how quickly things can change in terms of, you know, your positivity and your psychology. So I'm really keen to always reach out with practitioners and experts in the field as well, so that if I've got someone I'm working with who really needs a bit of help, I can kind of help, you know, signpost them to an expert who can sort of come and take the reins a little bit and help out with a bit of expertise. So you know, that was part of the reason I wanted to connect with you in the first place. So you know, that's, I think practitioners and coaches need to do that more, so that we are linking up and we are collaborating and we're bringing that support and that expertise and that understanding to as many people as possible.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think, you know, look, in the coaching world, I think it's very easy to get caught in our own little silos. You know, we all have our niche. But I think it is very easy to just be not narrow-minded. That's the wrong way of putting it, but we almost have that tunnel vision, like this is all I'm working on and this is what I'm doing over here, right? But I'm no expert in fitness. I don't go to the gym. I get tired running the bath, right? That's that's my way of looking at it. And even for me, like during my own recovery and when I came out the other side of therapy and stuff, for me, the gym, fitness, that kind of thing, that didn't work for me, you know. I always look at it, it's a horses for courses scenario. What works for me may not work for you, and vice versa. I think the way I coach and how I take my clients through their journey is, you know, let's try everything and let's see what sticks. Let's see what works well for you. And that might be, you know, all of it comes back to changing the mindset initially, but then from a maintenance perspective, then how do I continue to maintain this going forward? Is it going to the gym 2 or 3 times a week? Is it swimming, cycling, running? For me, Paul, it's cooking, right? As I said, I'm a chef by trade, right? I love, at the end of the day, when I'm finished work and I'm you know, done with my clients and I've been talking about suicide and mental health all day, for me, I go into the kitchen, I get my knives out, and I spend an hour and a half, 2 hours in the kitchen cooking every day. That's my gym, right? That's what I get out of it, you know. I'll put some music on, headphones in, and I just cook, right? And that, for me, I get the same from that as you might have gone to the gym, you know. I find that if it's the weekend, a Friday, or whatever day of the week it is, if my wife decides she wants to cook, I find myself pacing the house, wondering what the hell am I supposed to do with myself now, you know. And I can get very agitated because I need that release. I need that time just to zone out of everything, in the same way that somebody gets it, you know, going to the gym or going for a swim or going for a cycle. As I said, look, it's a horses for courses scenario. You have to work on the mindset first of all, and then once we get that element done and we understand your triggers, we understand, you know, what makes you tick, why you're, you know, what are the limiting beliefs that you hold on to, where the procrastination is coming from, all of those kind of things. Once we figure all of that out, then we look at a maintenance plan, let's say, for the guys to go forward. So that could be, as I said, whatever it needs to be. So I love that idea that you have, where, you know, we can start connecting and pointing people in the right direction to other coaches or to, you know, other people that can help along their journey.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, I love the fact that you focus on that maintenance piece, because I think that's often the thing that's missing with a lot of coaching and a lot of help for individuals is, okay, we can change you from this state to this state, but then what? And I think the maintenance piece
Yeah.
is really, really important, actually, because that's really the real long-term goal is the maintenance bit. Yes, make the change, but then keep it changed and keep and have maintain that new better state. So I think that's really, really good to hear that that's what you look at, and really good to hear that that's what
And for me, and for me that was the most important thing. Like when I decided to go down this route and start working with men and becoming a coach and working with guys, it was I had to kind of step back and look at, okay, well, what did I learn myself over all of the stuff that I've done and the experiences that I went through. But then when you kind of take, everyone kind of takes that perception that once you go to therapy or once you go to counseling or whatever the case is, that's it. That's the magic bullet, and there you go, right? Like I said, I was nearly 8 months in therapy. It took us probably 2.5 months, 3 months before we realized that I have really bad. So that was a challenge in itself, getting to that point, and really understanding my condition was the medication, because it was wrong for me. But then when I finished with my therapist, it was like, now what? Now what do I do with all of this? I've unpacked 30 odd years of learned behavior, of trauma, of everything else. But how do I keep going? And for me, like, I'm a big believer in coaches need coaches, right? So I've worked with 3-4 different life coaches on different things. I've got a business coach. I had a life coach. I had a mindset coach. I still have my business coach who works with me. Because we're always learning, right? We're always developing new skills, and certainly in our industry, we need to keep that mindset of, we have to keep learning, because every time that we learn, every time that we grow, we automatically pass that on to our clients then, don't we? So for me, that maintenance piece is the biggest part of the program that I do with my clients.
No, fantastic. It's really good to hear. And I agree 100%. So this kind of pulls me back then to so the thing I work with obviously covers those 4 pillars that I mentioned earlier. So I look at nutrition, at movement, at sleep and recovery, and then the mindset. And for me, in that sense, when I'm working with a client, mindset is about your attitude, your state of organization, getting planned and then having a bit of a backup plan. So, let's go to you now. So with your family set up, with your business set up, with you having kind of got your ducks in a row, what sort of things are you working on in terms of those pillars? What do you do with your nutrition? I know you obviously cook, so probably there's lots of wholesome ingredients being included in your diet, but what about your sort of sleep routines and your exercise? What are you doing that's putting those things together? Because I think they're all really intrinsically linked.
So from a food perspective, look, there's no ready-made meals in our house. It just they don't exist. Right. I don't have jars of dolmio or pasta sauces or anything like that. Everything is cooked fresh. I very rarely even use store-bought pasta. My youngest daughter now, she'll be 10 at the end of the month. She gets in from school in the afternoon. If we're having pasta, we make it fresh and we roll it fresh and we cook it all fresh, right? But for me, that's me, because that does 2 parts for it, right? One, it's a healthy eating habit, but also that's part of my daily maintenance, right? That's my cooking. For me, is one of my non-negotiables that I have to do every day. Do you know what I mean? So from a nutrition perspective, it's always fresh ingredients 100% all the time. I think from a from a sleeping perspective, so that was one thing I suffered with for a long time. And it was from the anxiety and a build-up of the anxiety for years, in that I had a really bad relationship with sleep for a long time. I used to suffer really badly with nightmares and night terrors, to the point where I didn't want to go to sleep. right? So I
Okay.
would lie awake at night purposely watching Netflix or doom scrolling for hours and hours and hours until 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, until I literally passed out from being so exhausted.
Yeah.
And then I'd wake up 2 or 3 hours later, and it would be, you know, consuming copious amounts of coffee to get me through the day because I was just exhausted. And then I'm on a sugar rush, and then that comes down, and this cycle just repeats itself
Yeah.
over and over.
Yeah.
So again, from a learning perspective, and trying to get through that, and again, all of the different learning, I have a very rigid routine now for going to bed. So it's, I don't look at a screen for at least an hour prior to getting into bed. When I have my shower in the evening before bed, the last part of the shower, I turn it cold. I get into bed, I read, I do some breathing exercises to get me into that mindset and into that relaxed state, I should say. And I found it since doing that, look, it takes practice. I didn't just start it. It took weeks and weeks to try and develop my way of doing it. But then I found I can fall asleep now at 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. I'm awake at 5:30, 5:45 every morning. And I'm at my desk working at 6:30 every morning. But I found now, even with that 6, 7 hours sleep, I'm re-energized. I've had a good night's sleep. It's not broken. It's 6 or 7 good hours of deep sleep. So for me, it's trying to find, again, what routine works for you. My routine may not work for you. You may find bits of it that would help, but again, I think sleep is one of the biggest things we need for our mental health. And trying to break those habits of chasing the dopamine at 10 o'clock at night, scrolling through TikTok or Netflix or whatever the case is. You need to break that one first and foremost. Everything after that, I think, becomes easier then, right? If you're getting a good night's sleep, if you've a good routine with your sleep and a good relationship with your sleep, then your gym, your running, your cycling, whatever it is you want to do, becomes easier after that. Right. But I think and again, it's something I work with my clients right from the very start, is I look at what their nighttime routine looks like, and then we try and shift it and change it slightly. Once we get that sorted, everything else just becomes that bit easier then.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. Yeah, and like I said earlier, I work with that's one of the pillars I work with, and a lot of clients will come to me for one thing specifically. Quite often, it's to lose some weight and improve their health, but actually, a byproduct of doing some of that, improves sleep. So I actually deliberately look at the sleep piece as well, because they are, as you've said, they're all linked. So if your sleep's improved, then you've got more energy to do maybe more moving, not necessarily exercise, but just even walking a bit more. Then you've got a bit more about you in terms of getting your food right, because you've got a bit more energy and a bit more focus. And then you start to improve that, and then you're going to sleep better. So these things are all sort of linked together, which is why I've made them my 4 pillars I work on, because if you improve one or 2 areas, the other ones sort of come along a little bit with it. And if you can work on all of them, then, fantastic. You can really start to make changes. So yeah, really fascinating. So yeah, Luke's just dropped a little note in there about magnesium. Yeah, and yeah, absolutely, that can help for a lot of people in terms of improving that restfulness and that restful state, and getting good sleep. Makes a big difference, and it's something that can be void in a lot of people's diets potentially as well. And in terms of exercise, I sort of use inverted commas. What do you do in terms of your movement? Because obviously you've mentioned people potentially using the gym and doing things. What about you? What do you do?
For me, look, as I said, I've tried the gym. I did a thing about a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago, where everyone always says, look, if you've got mental health condition, depression, anxiety, this, that, and the other, the only thing that will help is going to the gym, right? Go for a run, go for a swim, go for a cycle, get exercise, and blah. And I thought, right, I need to see if this works, right? My brain needs to understand, how does it work, why does it work, and is it a thing, right? So I started going to the gym every day. I have a local gym down the road from me, Fuse, that quite kindly gave me free membership for 6 months, and I used it, and I went every day, and I enjoyed it, but it didn't help me in that regard, right? I didn't find it did anything for my mental well-being, my mental health, right? And this is the big thing I talk about with all of my clients, Devin, is that everyone is completely different, right? We are all unique in that regard, that just because 50 guys go to the gym and they feel great about themselves, that doesn't mean you're not going to look good and you're not going to get fit. But are you mentally going to feel good? Right? Maybe not. I found, I enjoyed going to the gym. It was okay, but did it do anything for my anxiety, for my overall mental health? No, it didn't. Right? I found what works for me. For me, it's reading, listening to music, and it's cooking. From an exercise perspective, then all I do really realistically, Paul, is I go for walks. So I'm quite lucky in the sense I have Bray Beach, which is in County Wicklow, outside south of County Dublin, and I have a 1.5 mile long beach, about 10 minutes walk from my house, a seafront with a promenade. So at any time I can go for a walk down there. I can take the dog. So walking is probably we've got mountains around us, hill walking if we want to, which we would do regularly. So for me, walking is my exercise. As I said, it's not that I don't enjoy going to the gym. I didn't get anything from it. Do you know what I mean? So I eat healthily and I walk. That's, for me, that works. So
well, and that's all you need to do.
It's important for people to understand that.
No, 100%. Yeah, the gym isn't for everybody. It's not going to work for everybody. And when I say exercise, I just mean moving your body, really. And I think actually walking is probably the most positive thing you can do with your body, especially if you're trying to make a change of any kind, mentally, physically, whatever it is. Because so much happens for you on a walk. You get mental clarity, you can figure out and solve problems, you're moving your body, your heart rate's gone up a little bit, there's loads that happens. So that's the one thing I would always encourage. If someone asks me what's the best exercise for weight loss, for improving your fitness, I'll always say walking, because you don't have to buy any special equipment, and you can just go out of your door and just do it. You're lucky you've got a beach down the road, which is fab. So that's probably that's even more beneficial when I'm a big believer in being able to see a long way, see a horizon, because I think the world we've built is very much big blocky brick built buildings and concrete, and that doesn't connect us to nature. And I'm not going to say get all woo woo and take your shoes and socks off and stand on the grass and hum or anything, but I think we should go out and try and see for a long way and see some nature, see some sky, see a field, see a beach and water. I think that there's an innate connection inside of us that just makes us feel better and lifts us up a little bit.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So Luke might be local then, I guess. Is Luke a connection of yours?
Yeah, I think he's on my LinkedIn now, right? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, there you go.
I don't think I'll get into boxing though. I think we'll leave that. I'm in the tooth for that now. A bit old for getting into boxing.
Yeah, I mean, there's positives and negatives from that as well. I mean, getting punched in the face probably sucks. So.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
So you mentioned some of your non-negotiables a little bit earlier. So have you got any others that sort of daily absolute non-negotiables that you must include? You've obviously got your food prep and your cooking, but is there anything else that you have as well?
No, I mean that's my biggest one, right? That's my time, right? As I said, that's usually in the evening time, before everybody else kind of gets in from work. My youngest is usually home with me. She'll cook sometimes with me, she won't. But that for me is my main non-negotiable is that just give me that hour to, like I said earlier, Paul, I spend 90% of my working day talking about mental health, about suicide, talking through trauma with clients and that kind of stuff. So for me, that's the big one. It just allows me to get rid of it. But other than that, it's not like, I think the sleep one again is probably one of the other non-negotiables I have. That routine I have in the evening, turning the water cold and having that 2 or 3 minute cold shower is a great one. And as I said, look, that again, that works for me. But with my clients and the guys that I work with, it's trying to find, early on in the program, it's trying to find those things that you can take on that are not going to be too big that you'll drop them within 5 or 6 weeks. It's small little incremental changes, I think, that we can continue. That's the big one for me. It's not about going out there and trying to make these huge exorbitant plans and setting these unrealistic goals and targets for yourself. It's just trying to make those little small incremental changes that are going to make a big difference 6 months down the line. Do you know what I mean? So for me, my evening routine and the cooking, they're big for my own mental resilience and mental health.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah. And I agree with you. I'm a big believer in trying to keep it simple, but also taking on board things to implement that you actually enjoy and that actually fit to your lifestyle. As you've alluded to throughout the whole conversation, you can't just take a fixed plan and just apply it to everybody. It has to fit within your lifestyle. So it has to fit, your family circumstances, your home environment, your work environment. It's got to fit all of those things, and then something that you enjoy. So, when it comes to exercise, don't do something that you like, because then you're gonna keep doing it. So it might be that
exactly,
playing squash or riding a bike or whatever it is. So there's an element of sort of trying things out and figuring out the things that are going to work, the things that you can adopt, the things that you're going to like, and then you'll keep doing them. And then we're starting to go into that maintenance piece through the nature of the work. So I think that's really important.
Yeah, absolutely.
And when it comes to sleep, again, massively important area, which a lot of people don't tend to work on necessarily. For me, the most important thing is to get a regular routine, whatever it is, whatever it looks like, however you go to bed and get up from sleep. It doesn't matter how you do it, but the regularity is the key element, I think, that makes things work for our body and for our mind. We tend to work on a cycle. And, our body is managed by hormonal responses. And so repetitive, predictable cycles are very positive, because you get hormonal balance. And then everything's a bit easier when that's happening. When things are chaotic, so are your hormones. And then everything sort of is just constantly moving and waving about. Really fascinating area to discuss. I think you and I need to have more conversations so I can learn a bit more from your side of things.
Definitely. Yeah. There certainly are, as I said earlier, those rabbit holes you can fall down. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So before we finish up, I want to ask, is there like one person or a book or a documentary or a series of podcasts or something that's really had a big positive impact on you, or that you tend to share with people that you would want to share now?
There's so much realistically. Like I think the big one for me, right, and the one thing I tell all of my clients is listen to your body. There's a great book actually, The Body Keeps the Score. So it talks about your physical reaction to trauma, basically, right? You can watch all of the the Tony Robbins's, the Mel Robbins. You can listen to all of the different podcasts. You can read every book under the sun, right? Listen to any life coach on all your social media platforms, and you can take something from all of them. For me, it's listen to your body, because your body is going to try and tell you something. If you're overworked, if you're fatigued, if you're at the point of burnout, if you're stressed, anxious, if you're on the edge of depression, your body is going to give you signs that this is happening. And it may be a change in behavior. And that's again, another big one I talk about with my clients is has there been a change in you somewhere along the line, right? Are you not, maybe you did go to the gym 5 days a week and all of a sudden you just have the energy to go twice a week. Why is that? Your body is telling you something, right? Maybe it's you had a great relationship with sleep and you slept 8 hours a night all the time, and now all of a sudden you're waking up 2 or 3 times a night, or you're getting broken sleep. Something's happening in here somewhere. Your body is the biggest indicator for something being wrong, basically. And that book, The Body Keeps the Score, is a great way of being able to understand, you know, all of the little things your body is going to do to give you those warning signs that actually maybe there's a bit of trauma in here, or maybe there's a lot of anxiety or stress, or you're at the point of burnout, whatever, that you're going to react from. And then it's about looking for help. Certainly from a male perspective, it's putting your hand up and saying, guys, I need some help with this because I don't know. You know, as dads, I know what it's like to have a full-time job, to run my own business, and to and to be a dad to 3 children. 2 of them are adults, and then we have our youngest then. But you know, to be able to juggle all of that, it takes its toll on you, right? Like it does everyone, right? We get exhausted, we get tired, we, as men, we react differently. So we might get moody, cranky, narky, you know, scream, shouting, slamming doors, whatever it is. But even those behavioral things, that's a sign that something is not working right for you. Somewhere, something within your life is not clicking into place for you, and you need to check in with yourself, and you need to figure out what that is, and then ask for help. So, look, as I said, look, you only have to Google coaching, mindfulness, well-being. You know, the amount of information that's out there is countless. For me, the one thing I always tell my clients is listen to your body, listen to yourself. Your body will tell you if there's something up, and then you need to kind of sit back and check out, okay, am I stressed about, break it down, am I stressed about work? No. Is it home? Is it finances? Is it the marriage? Is it the relationship? Is it being a dad? Is it this? What is it that's really getting me on edge? And when you start thinking about it, your body will naturally react to it, right? So if you start thinking about, is it finances? You know, your shoulders might tense up. Your body will give you a signal to say, that's it. So what is it about the finances that's stressing me out, that's keeping me awake at night? What is it about the job that's stressing me out, keeping me awake at night, that's making me, you know, moody and whatever it is? So body scans, check in with yourself, and then once you find that, then go looking for the help thereafter. That's kind of the best advice I could give to somebody.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. Yeah, and that's a great book. I'm going to go and pick that up and have a read of that. And it's a really good point because, like you said, you know, and like I've alluded to, everything's linked. Our brain lives inside our body, and so you know it is connected. And you're right, you can feel that tension when something's really bad. You'll feel it when you think about that thing. So I guess it's developing a little bit of mindfulness as well, isn't it? And sort of understanding what that signal is and what's going on, so that you can then reach out and get a bit of help.
Yeah, absolutely. And don't get there's one thing that kind of annoys me. Like we've talked about it already, right? Keeping it simple, right? There's a lot of mindfulness and well-being coaches and stuff out there that will make mindfulness or well-being out to be the most convoluted, exorbitant, like complicated thing in the world. It's not. You know, mindfulness is all about just being present in the moment without any distractions, so that you can focus in on yourself. And whether you get mindfulness from drinking a cup of tea, right? Most times you make a coffee or a tea, and as you're drinking it, you'll sit there scrolling through social media on your phone. Put the phone down and just sit and enjoy a coffee, sit and enjoy a cup of tea. That's when you start to check in with yourself, right? For me, as I said, cooking for me is the big one, or going for a walk again is another one. Mindfulness can be found in anything that you do, so long as you're 100% present in the moment of what you're doing. It does take practice, absolutely, but it isn't this huge complicated thing that some coaches will charge you thousands of pounds to learn. It's really not. And so just check in with yourself, check in with your body. Once you start to figure out what it is that's keeping you awake or making you tense or making you unhappy, then you can start to put a plan in place to really dive into it and understand how to fix it.
Yeah, definitely. And that piece, you mentioned a few times, especially with your cooking, and when I'm talking about going for a walk or doing your favorite activity, whatever it might be, is if you do that and you're 100% in that, that's your flow. You find the flow state. So a lot of people will go for a walk and stick a podcast in their ear, so they're not really going to have that mindfulness moment. Their body and their brain aren't connecting because they're listening and they're distracted here by this thing. So I think that's, to your point, is just do the thing, whatever it is. Just do that thing, and then you'll find that state and you'll find that flow. And it's good for you anyway. It's just good for that balance that we were talking about earlier. Really important message. Cool. So I'm really conscious of time. We've gone rattling on through 40 minutes. So what are you working on at the moment? How can people get in touch with you? What's the best thing for people that would like to talk to you a bit more?
So the best way is the website, so theanxiouslad.ie. You can message me through there, or simply matt@theanxiouslad.ie is my email address, or LinkedIn. Drop me a message, drop me a DM. I've just released a new product, or a new course, I should say, rather than product. It's called the Resilient Man Project. So what I am looking to do is basically, whether it's online or in person, I want to get a group of guys, 20 blokes together, and start building a community where we have peer support, guys helping each other, accountability partners. It'll be life coaching from me. It's a 12-week program. It doesn't cost hundreds or thousands. I've purposely made it very affordable for anyone who needs it and anyone who wants it. But have a look at the website, drop me a message. It's a 12-week course that will give you a partner to work with, an accountability partner to work with. We'll set goals, we'll set expectations, we'll look at what your limiting beliefs are, and we can start the ball rolling with you to get you into that maintenance plan for after the 12 weeks. So if anyone is interested in working with a group of other guys and want to help other guys grow as well as your own growth, drop me a message, give me a shout. But the website is the best place to start for all of that anyway.
Fantastic. That sounds brilliant. So I really hope that lifts off well and you get a nice cohort and get that started. It sounds really good. Yeah.
We've just just launched it now over the last kind of week or so on social media. We've gotten some good interaction of it. So obviously, for anyone who's online or who's not in Bray, we'll do the online versions, and we will have meetups if possible. But look, we don't need to be in the same room this to work. So there'll be 90-minute weekly coaching calls with the group, peer support, all of that kind of stuff. We'll work through everything as a group together, and then there's daily check-ins, building a community, private WhatsApp groups, all of that kind of stuff. So it's exciting. I'm really looking forward to getting it going.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, it's a great idea. Well done. I look forward to supporting that wherever I can. So thank you so much again for your time today. Really appreciate you coming on and chatting to me. And I'll look forward to keeping in touch with you and seeing how you're going.
I appreciate it. Thanks a million, Paul.
Yeah, cheers.
Best of luck with everything.